Greetings, survivors and friends, and welcome to everything you need to know in Rust, including news of a new building skin and all the details of this week's Pivot or Die patch to PC Rust, because thanks, or maybe not thanks, to the naval update being left to soak for another month, the team have taken the opportunity to properly knock the meta about a bit more, with some major changes to progression. Now, depending on how long you've been kicking around in Rust, you'll remember various progression systems being tried mainly because it's something that's hard to get right, and there's no pleasing everyone. But three big adjustments to the current system just went live to make progression easier and smoother, and to restore a sense of discovery and early game pacing, and they are a full BP wipe on all servers, of course, and drastic reductions to both tech tree and research costs. Although they're stopping short of committing to it, it looks like the team would like to be able to wipe BPs every month, if possible, to level the playing field and make early game items great again, mainly out of necessity. But for now, they're leaving it subject to change, depending on how the other changes go, which, in a nutshell, are firstly, that workbenches no longer require any scrap to craft, and secondly, that research/unlock costs for BPs have been slashed, with commons going from 20 scrap down to 15, uncommons reducing from 75 to 30, rares going from 125 scrap all the way down to 60, and very rares being only 120 now instead of 500. Of course, these are big changes which will need time in the wild to properly work themselves out. The stated aim is to remove some of the grind and bring back a sense of progression, but if you've played with them, what do you think so far, and what do you think the effects will be long term? Place your predictions in the comments below, please. There are a lot of nice quality of life changes this month too, firstly in the shape of a new 18-slot fun-sized mini fridge, which uses 3 power and sits neatly under half-height floors, etc. This one can be unlocked from the engineer's bench early on and costs 50 metal scrap to craft. Talking of which, if you've got a storage adapter glued to a box, then you can now take advantage of some new sorting settings when you open it. Sort stuff alphabetically with a language setting, as that will obviously affect it, sort by condition, count, category, and there's even a custom snapshot mode which lets you set a specific item layout, which it'll then try its best to recreate for you. This works for large and small wood boxes, coffins, and DLC storage items. Vets rejoice because you can now use syringes on horses too, which, as well as healing them and granting some stamina recovery, has the added benefit of giving them a temporary max gallop speed boost too. Depending on where you stick it, I guess. Don't you dare. All vending machines will show on the map whether they're drone accessible now, and player elevators not only had their speed nearly doubled, but also now have a power input plug on each floor, so the whole elevator can be powered from anywhere. There are 5 new CCTV cameras on the cargo ship now, and you can pause here to grab them. Plus, as mentioned in the last vid, there are 4 new ones at the ferry terminal, with a bug fix to computer stations, which should let you add a lot more cameras to one than before. The painting menu now finally has a full colour wheel with a copy-paste function for hex codes, and you can add up to 10 favourite colours now, and for those of you who want to go a bit fancier, you can even use a new convar to bind custom swatches to different keys. Foliage will now displace directionally away from players and other moving objects, which should add yet another layer of realism, and as shown previously, a new RPG skin for the rocket launcher is now live on the permanent store for a snip at £5.19 or whatever that is at your local bureau de change. Some other small changes include M4 shotties spawning inside hackable crates once more, but a lower chance of finding an L96 in one. The high-qual crafting cost has been removed from DPVs, and you can now buy them directly from the fishing village, and diving tanks can now be repaired for free, like the jackhammer. There was a bit of rebalancing this month, firstly to mitigate the increasing habit of players camping so close to BP frag locations at monuments that it was preventing loot respawns. To work around this, monument refresh timers will now only start once a player loots a container in the puzzle rooms, rather than every 30 minutes regardless. The timers will tick down even if a player is in range, and severe unsurvivable radiation will start generating around the loot rooms and elements like switches and fuse boxes 10 minutes before they're due to refresh. Once the radiation is active, the puzzle can only reset once it's been clear of players for 5 minutes total, but player check areas around these bits have been shrunk somewhat to make sure you can still run around and loot other other parts of the monuments without triggering them. Hopefully, this restores balance to the force or whatever. Helicopters also got a balance pass, as attack choppers were proving too hard to take down with the homing missile launcher, which was supposed to be the antidote. Thrown flares no longer interact with homing missiles, only the helicopter's own flare launcher, so the reload window can't be bypassed. You'll also no longer be able to repair helis in flight and must land to do this now. And lastly, as well as pilots not being able to use healing items, they now can't use healing foods either when piloting or in charge of any vehicle, because safety is #1 priority. However, in a generous move, minis and scrap transports have been retrofitted with their own flare launchers, and when buying one they come pre-loaded with flares. How nice. Another benefit of a big content patch being delayed is that some optimizations were deployed this month too, and you can read all the scintillating details in the dev blog, of course, but to summarize, the rendering performance on wind turbines has been improved, especially on servers with large bases and many turbines, by removing skinning and handling animation in code, along with better level of detail transitions. And there's a big write-up with pictures of how some experimental server optimizations are targeting server occlusion and bottlenecks on multi-threaded player update processing. Thrilling stuff. There were some general UI optimizations which should significantly enhance in-game UI performance on populated servers by mitigating a Unity bug that caused UI update time to scale with the number of game objects, and performance drains from common entities such as chippy arcade machines, slot machines, sprinklers and phone booths were targeted by fixing issues like redundant screen rendering on idle machines, improving UI pooling, and switching idle sprinklers to static models for efficient batch rendering. The HMLMG is now skinnable in the workshop, with the first example now on the store and more items becoming skinnable soon, it would seem, such as tactical gloves, and admins can now spawn vehicles directly from their own tab in the F1 menu. Very handy indeed. Oh, and Rust will now be doing drops on Kick, with an exclusive hazmat being available between November 13th and 23rd, along with a few other general and streamer-specific ones, with more to be confirmed, and you can see all the details of the event yet again on the dedicated page, which I'll link below. Plus, a new Rust X U-Choose Scientists collection is available with in-game versions. Would you believe it? There's even more DLC in the works. Crazy, right? I mentioned in the last vid about an upcoming artist DLC, which will include paintball guns, various frames, a canvas, an easel, plus a paintable human reactive target skin. But there's also a boxes DLC, which I'm told will be a collection of large themed storage boxes for various items with unique meshes. Ice sculptors have reared their heads again in the commit, so might be making it in December finally. And there's a new building skin in the works. And I guess it was only natural that Rust would go into space next after exploring virtually everywhere else. So there's a space station building skin coming, possibly in December, subject to change, which I'm told is currently planned to be the first armoured tier building skin. If you remember, the Brutalist skin was supposed to fill that niche, but was relegated to Stone tier in the end. But what do you think from this initial image? Does it suit top tier, and would you use it? Does it look spacious enough? Let me know below. Right, that's you all up to date. Leave a like and a sub. You can check me out on all my socials, including my Steam group, links below, and you can support the channel here with YouTube memberships, super thanks, and on Patreon. I shall catch you all soon, but in the meantime, keep calm and stay rusty. Cheerio. Don't you dare.